Sir, I need you to listen carefully. Something came up in the kitchen, and I thought you should know right away.
Wait, what? What do you mean? What's going on?
The fish you ordered, there's been a recall. Chef doesn't want to serve it. He needs your decision on a replacement.
A recall?
Right.
Okay.
Tell me, waitress, how would you invest $1 billion? The laughter echoed across the marble floors, sharp, mocking, cruel. Every eye in the restaurant turned toward her, waiting for the joke to land. But Amara didn't laugh. She looked at the billionaire, calm and steady, and said something that made the room fall silent. A few seconds later, the man who once ridiculed her couldn't meet her gaze. What did she say that turned arrogance into awe and changed the course of both their lives forever? This is The Waitress Who Silenced a Billionaire. Welcome, story lovers. From where are you watching? Hit the like button and drop your city name in the comments so we can see how far our story travels. It was the kind of restaurant where money spoke louder than manners. Marble floors, chandeliers that glowed like captured stars, and tables filled with people who measured worth in watches and last names. Among them moved Amara, a young black waitress with a calm grace that made her invisible and unforgettable all at once. Every evening she slipped between tables carrying trays heavier than her paycheck, her smile steady, her voice soft. To most, she was just another face in a uniform. But behind that quiet demeanor lived a woman who read during her breaks. Finance books, investment essays, anything she could find about turning struggle into strength. Outside the restaurant, her life was modest, a shared apartment, late night, buses, and a small notebook filled with goals she refused to give up on. She had dreams, not of wealth, but of understanding it. Numbers fascinated her, the way money moved, how it could build or break entire lives, and yet, inside that glittering dining room, she was often reminded that people like her weren't meant to belong in the conversations that filled the air, deals, markets, mergers. Still, she listened. Every overheard word was a free education. That night, a table near the center buzzed louder than usual. A billionaire, young, noisy, and careless, with both laughter and respect, had arrived with a group of business partners. Cameras flashed, glasses clinked. Amara approached, balancing a tray of champagne. He didn't look at her. Not really. Just another server, another background detail. But when his eyes finally met hers, something flickered. Not respect, not kindness, but curiosity dressed in arrogance. "Tell me," he said, tossing the question into the air like a joke, "how would you invest $1 billion?" Laughter erupted around the table. The joke wasn't meant to be answered. But Amara smiled, not in amusement, but in calm understanding. And somewhere deep inside, the night began to shift. The laughter lingered like smoke, heavy, suffocating, and dismissive. Amara didn't flinch. She stood there, tray in hand, surrounded by men whose suits cost more than she made in a month. Their amusement wasn't just about her answer. It was about the audacity of her being asked at all. She set down the glasses carefully, her hand steady though her chest tightened. The billionaire, Marcus Langford, leaned back in his chair, his smile sharp and careless. He was used to being the loudest voice in every room, a man born into wealth, praised for his risks, applauded for his arrogance. He expected her to stammer, to laugh awkwardly, to play along with his game. But Amara only said, "Depends on what kind of return you're after." The table fell briefly silent, the kind of silence that wasn't comfortable but curious. It was the first time anyone had dared to treat his question seriously. Marcus tilted his head, intrigued but mocking. "Oh? And what would you do?" "With my $1 billion?" She smiled again, a gentle, disarming smile that came from years of learning when to speak and when to listen. "If I had $1 billion," she said quietly, "I'd start by investing in people who never get invited to this table." A few of his guests exchanged glances, some with smirks, others with discomfort. Her words cut through the laughter without raising her voice. The moment passed, but it didn't disappear. Marcus tried to shrug it off, making another joke about financial geniuses in aprons. Yet something in her tone lingered. Confidence without bitterness, intelligence without arrogance. When Amara walked away, he found himself watching her, not as a waitress, but as someone who'd said something he didn't quite understand. As the night went on, Marcus couldn't shake it. He overheard her speaking to another staff member, calm, thoughtful, offering advice about saving, about small investments. He realized she wasn't pretending to know. She did know. Later, when the restaurant quieted and the lights dimmed, he saw her again, sitting near the back during her break, a worn notebook open beside a cup of cold coffee. He caught a glimpse of the pages, notes, charts, calculations. Real work. Real ambition. And for the first time in years, Marcus felt something unusual, shame, because in his laughter, he had seen her as less. But in that moment, he saw someone who carried more depth than the millionaires who surrounded him nightly. The next day, her name wouldn't leave his mind. He searched her up on the restaurant's staff page, nothing more than Amara Waitress. No accolades, no degrees, just effort. But that night, when he returned with another group, he didn't sit in the same place. When Amara approached, he didn't make jokes. He asked questions, real ones. The same crowd laughed again, calling him sentimental, saying he was wasting his time. But Marcus knew something they didn't, that behind that quiet smile was a kind of wealth he had never learned to measure. And soon, everyone else was about to find out too. A week later, Marcus Langford hosted a private charity dinner, an event filled with cameras, investors, and the same polished arrogance that once defined him. Amara hadn't expected to see him again, yet there he was, greeting her with a sincerity that caught her off guard. Midway through the evening, Marcus took the stage. He spoke of change, of perspective, of realizing that wisdom doesn't always come dressed in wealth. Then, to everyone's confusion, he gestured toward Amara. "This woman," he said, "taught me more in one sentence than my mentors did in years." The room shifted, polite smiles fading into stunned silence. Some guests chuckled, assuming it was another joke. But Marcus continued. "I asked her how she'd invest $1 billion. She said she'd invest in people who never get invited to the table. Tonight, that's exactly what I'm doing." He announced a new initiative, a scholarship and mentorship fund for underrepresented youth in finance, with Amara's name on it. Cameras flashed. Shock rippled through the crowd. For a heartbeat, she couldn't move. The same people who once laughed now watched her in silence. Some impressed, some uneasy. She hadn't asked for recognition. But in that moment, her quiet strength became undeniable. Marcus looked her way. No words, just a nod, an unspoken apology, and respect long overdue. The same question that began as mockery had turned into a movement, and the room, for once, was truly listening. "Dear audience, where are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments." When the applause faded, Amara slipped quietly to the back of the hall, her heart pounding, not from pride, but disbelief. For years, she'd lived in the background of other people's success, watching, learning, dreaming in silence. Now her name echoed through a room where her presence once drew laughter. She didn't see herself as a hero or a symbol. She was simply a woman who refused to let other people's assumptions define her worth. Yet, as journalists approached and stories spread, she realized something powerful. Her words had started a conversation larger than herself. In the weeks that followed, applications poured into the new fund. Young people who had never seen anyone like them represented in finance found hope in her story. Amara's message became more than advice. It became a reminder that knowledge, dignity, and wisdom aren't reserved for the privileged. Marcus, once defined by arrogance, began to change too. He visited schools, met young entrepreneurs, and credited the waitress who taught him humility. Amara returned to work for a time, still humble, still grounded. But now every customer saw her differently. She had been invisible, and now she had become a mirror, reflecting the truth about how easily society measures people by surface instead of substance. In a world obsessed with wealth, she proved that actual value isn't in what you own, but in what you understand. How many more voices like hers go unheard until someone finally listens?